everyone. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's webinar. Very exciting webinar. It is the 2024 Social Media Marketing Trends Report. It's highly anticipated every year and very glad you could join us live for it. So for those who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Fox from the Network One. I'll be moderating this webinar. We also have Julian on the call and available to help. Very quick housekeeping. We're going to have a 5-minute intro from myself and Julian. Yari will be speaking for about 35-40 minutes, and then we will have a Q&A. So the main session will be finished by around 5 o'clock UK time. If we have a lot of questions, we might extend it, but the main session with the report will be done by 5 p.m. If you do have any questions for our speakers, please write them in the Q&A box at the bottom. And also, they don't have to be questions. If you've noticed some trends that haven't been included in the report, please do let us know and we can pull you up on the screen for you to share them. We are also currently recording this webinar, so no need to take notes if you'd prefer not to. And just very quick hello from Julian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephanie. I just wanted to say a little word of introduction. It's we've been doing this survey together with our great friends at Curio, of which Yari is the creative director, for 3 years now. And I tell you how I got started, because I went to go and talk to them, and they said that we've got this amazing thing for winning new business and clients. And I go, what is it? And they say, we got 50 client meetings out of this last year. And I said, what is it? And they go, well, I said, we did a little survey of social media trends in It's in Finland, sorry, and everybody wanted to know. So instead of phoning and trying to do the usual kind of agency pitch, we said, would you like us to come and share with you this survey on social media trends in Finland? So it was very well received. And we just thought, gosh, we've got agencies in so many countries. Why stick to Finland? So we persuaded Yari and the team that instead of having just people from Finland contributing them, we'd have people from all over the world. So you've got social media trends from 25 or 30 amazing independent agencies all the way around the world, all part of the Network One. So the big thanks go to them, and particularly to Yari, because he now has 5 times the work to coordinate it and try and pick something out that is a real trend. So huge thank you in advance to all of the people who contributed. You will get named, but not sort of individually. And over to you, Steph and Yari, for take us through it.
Thank you. All right, so I'm very delighted to introduce our speaker, Jari Laudavori, and he is co-founder of Curio in Finland. So today, Jari will present live the results of the 2024 survey. This brand new report is based on research from independent agencies in 25 different countries, spanning every continent. Jari will share the key trends and developments from the survey, providing essential information for all communications professionals and your clients. So I'm very pleased to now turn over to Jari.
Thank you so much, Julian and Stephanie, for the kind intro words. I will share my screen and then we're good to go. So it is my pleasure to be presenting these trends to you guys for the fourth year in a row. A little bit about us and then we're off. So we're a fellow Network One agency, Curio from Finland. Here we are at the Canline Beach. There are some figures of us, and this is what we do. We're a social first creative agency, and we operate somewhere in between a PR agency, an ad agency, and a media agency. And we've always striven for thought leadership, and we've had the honor of doing amazing research partnership thingies with, for example, the Network One and Cannes Lions. Before we dive into the findings from the interviews with our experts throughout the network, just a few stats from elsewhere, just to kind of like put us on the map when it comes to social. So we know that people spend quite a lot of time on social media. 2.5 hours is where it has saturated globally for the past years, and quite steadily there. This year there was a bit of a dip, but it has been there. And it is the biggest chunk of our media use. Now, of course, marketers have seen this, and that has led to the numbers on the, for example, these stats by Dentsu showing that not only is the digital the biggest growing of all the media placements that advertisers spend their money on, but it also social within the digital is the biggest grower. This stats from WARC shows that social will be the fastest growing medium this year. Another one from Statista states that social media has surpassed television in media spending last year and will be growing ever bigger in this year. But with this kind of like brief background, we kind of like have established the need for marketers to see or at least somehow spend their thoughts and resources on social media. What we have always wanted to uncover with this research is what they should focus on in the upcoming year or the year at hand already. And this report, as Julian quite nicely put it, has been put together thanks to the help of 33 amazing experts throughout the network, which I had the honor and pleasure of interviewing in December. Now, we here at Curio have tried our best to somehow comprise a cohesive whole of all the interviews, but if you want to check any one of those respondents named here, their answers, their interviews in whole, you can find them in the report, which is about 100 pages long this year as well. This year, we ended up with 10 key trends, as can be seen here. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to walk you through each of these. We have some quotes from other reports, other trends reports or research papers to kind of like back our experts' opinions and insights on. We also have some case studies here. We do have some snippets of interviews with our experts throughout the network. So it's not going to be exactly the same thing as you'll find on the report itself. Hopefully, it'll give you a bit more background into each of these trends, should you have already seen or checked the whole thing out. Let's start with the first one, the emergence of UAIGC. So user-generated content, UGC, is of course something that is familiar to each and every marketer or has become known for throughout the past 10 years or so. Now, thanks to generative AI, we will see a totally new sort of user-generated content popping up. Thanks to, be that text generation, image generation, or video generation. We know from, for example, these stats from the States that especially the younger demographics are very familiar with these generative AI tools, and they have been using them for toying around and having fun. Now, when it comes to having fun with brands, leads us into user-generated content. Case in point, Nike and Tiffany as well, without a doubt, have done quite a lot of good collaborations over the years. This particular one, wasn't so well received. People were kind of disappointed how it turned out once it was revealed. And it was in a time when Midjourney and DALL-E and so forth had just become so mainstream that people could start seeing this collab through their own eyes, through their own imaginations, what it could have been, what it should have been. And Sarah from Zulu Alpha Kilo, one of the interviewees, sums this up pretty nicely. The generative AI is changing our expectations on social. imaginations are running wild, and brands will need to ask themselves if they're willing to stretch themselves. Not only will brands have to look at what they create, they also have to look at how and be willing to loosen the reins on the stringent brand guidelines to allow for flexibility instead of further tightening their guidelines. So in a world where users, consumers, us all have the ability to take, for example, such a collab to a whole next level, people maybe they want to take part in such a imaginations running wild sort of a thought experiment. And if they weren't willing to do that in the first place, if they just see an opportunity because of a disappointing outcome from the brand's side, they might take it in their own hands in one way or another. So it has always been a fact, a truism, a rule of thumb on social that brands really need to kind of like lose their sense of control because they can't really have that in a sense that they've had it in more traditional media placements. But now with the rise of new AIGC, it has become ever, and it will become ever clearer that that is the direction. But there lies a great possibility, of course, for brands to embrace this phenomena, just giving the opportunity for people to let their imaginations run wild. An anecdote when it comes to just to show how willing people are using these sorts of tools to kind of like take reality to the next level. There is an app called Be Fake, which is of course a take on the Be Real app, which many of you must be familiar with. Now this one isn't about authenticity. This is about augmented or falsified reality thanks to generative AI, which puts a spin on your images that you upload there. Just to show that there is a need and want and craving for these sorts of images and aesthetics, and a reality too. Trend number 2. Many of our experts highlighted that maybe this year, thanks to the aforementioned generative AI, we will finally see a breakthrough in personalized content. This is something that, of course, has been mentioned in many trends reports, especially social media trends reports over the past years, but maybe now finally we will see it come to life thanks to AI. This study by Deloitte shows that when it comes to marketers using AI, this personalization of content is the #1 way in which brands do use it. This one goes even further by Twilio segment that 92% of companies are already using AI-driven personalization to grow their business. Be that one way or another, when it comes to these percentages, it is a growing thing among marketers. And for those who are or have been already using it, a majority of them cite that it has led to better customer retention, so it truly pays off. And it is also something that the customers are looking for. There has been a lot of discussion about personal data, data privacy, and so forth. Now, when consumers give their personal data to whatever service provider it may be, they expect that it leads to better personalization. It is something that people truly want. AI has a huge promise, and generative AI, especially within the personalization of content sphere of marketing, but I'm not sure that we are quite there yet. I had to put this up here. I just received this like a few days ago in my inbox. Those of you who know, that would be only me, my LinkedIn profile would quite easily detect that the data has been scraped from there. And yes, it it sounds like it has been personalized for me. But then there are some parts that truly sound like they are done by a bot, robot, AI, whatever you want to call it. For example, the almost last line. By the way, if you're in Helsinki, which is my hometown, I highly recommend visiting Finkino Maxim on Kluvinkatu 1. It's a fantastic way to unwind and get inspired. Now, no one living in Helsinki would ever tip you with that recommendation. Not that there's anything wrong with that cinema, but still. So it's coming, but it's not quite there yet. But at the same time, there are many promising technologies becoming available. As Chantes from Liwa here points out, there's a whole new game that is being played in the field of personalized video content and automated content. AI is quickly generating tailor-made videos suited to individual audience demographics. Agencies, production houses, and creatives are increasingly relying on AI voiceovers, AI editors, AI music, AI scripting, etc., etc. This allows creative teams more thinking time and leeway to create video content. Now think if all your whatever video content you might be putting out to your customer base might be personalized at the level that we saw in the email example on the previous slide, but done in a good way. That would be something that would be totally different, something never seen before. And we might be there soon. Trend number 3. This was something that was somewhat mentioned as a sideline in our previous last year's report, but now many of our experts said or saw that the virtual influencer scene is becoming mainstream. This has been mentioned in many other trends reports also, for example, in this year's big report by Trend Hunter. Influencer Marketing Hub showed in their survey that at least some sample of marketers have already widely been using AI influencers in their marketing campaigns. If this was done here in Finland, these numbers would not look the same, but whatever the sample is here, it is becoming a thing, at least somewhere. One thing is for sure, marketers will be spending and thinking about spending more on virtual influencers in the upcoming years. Some even think about creating their own, as was mentioned in this fine article by Financial Times a few weeks ago. So agencies creating their own virtual influencers because they basically do the same thing that an influencer could. We have done this at our agency also, but we've done it for kind of custom made for our clients. And of course, there are many examples of brands creating their own AI influencers. This one from KFC is a fine one, although it is from a few years ago and it's not like it has become a platform for them. But anyhow, it was part of a really nice campaign. And there he is lying like an influencer on a bed, promoting another product on KFC page like an influencer or creator would. AI, of course, is promising also for brands that have mascots or have had them for years and years. This one by Geico is a good example of this particular thing when it comes to mascots. And here we see a best of reel of the past year, like any influencer would post at this time or the turning of the year. Now there is one interesting, a bit of a philosophical question related to the rise of AI influencers, and it relates to somehow to this news as well. We all know that there has always been this risk factor when collaborating with a particular influencer or influencers as a group. People are people, and people tend to make mistakes, errors, whatever it may be, bigger or smaller. And sometimes those can put the brands in bad light when they have collaborated with influencers that end up in scandals. Many of you may know Chiara Ferragni. Many of you might know this case, which is a recent one. She had done a charitable post, but it was sort of like fake. She kind of like overpromised but didn't actually deliver, and so falsified information about a charitable donation, which led to 1 million euros fines for both the influencer and the brand present here. Now, AI influencers may offer an option with a lower risk level when it comes to these sorts of things. Who knows? Of course, AI influencers come with their own risks as well. But one thing is interesting here. If we are comparing AI influencers to basic, normal human influencers or creators, is there really a difference? And is it a relevant difference when it comes to how consumers feel about those influencers? Many people know or feel or think they know that influencers such as Chiara are commercial in a way that what they do or say or wear or whatever is not totally authentic. Now, if it was done by a virtual influencer who is not real at all, would it feel the same? Would there be any difference? And if yes, what sort of difference? So that's a bit of a philosophical question that I will let you linger on. No clear answers there. But this case example of this particular mishap by Chiara and the implications that it may have on kind of like legislations and rules and regulations regarding influencer marketing may lead to some possibilities and openings for virtual influencers. On with the fourth one. Over the past 2 years now in our report, we've highlighted the shifts in B2B, since we, at least here in Curio, feel that social media offers huge opportunities, especially for B2B. Many of our experts this year highlighted the fact that B2B will become or needs to become more like B2C this year. Let's take a short video insert from Gautam from Talented in India.
Hi, I'm Gautam Raghunath from Talented. We're a creative agency based out of India. I think the most noticeable trend in B2B marketing right now is the rise of a more unique, authentic kind of storytelling. B2B brands are ditching corporate stiff speak and embracing narratives that resonate at a more human level. It's obviously no longer just about stats and figures. It's about the people behind the business and the stories that make the company tick. Branded content, and sometimes branded entertainment even. It's also obviously clear that B2B marketing typically tends to be given a lot more time and patience to work than B2C. So that makes this trend potentially very effective.
I love the fact, the point that he's making there at the end, that since B2B marketing usually gets more time and resources when doing that, this trend has more potential or even more potential. Many of you presumably have seen some studies that relate to how B2B buyers, the decision makers, are changing as the demographics in those positions are changing. And the younger demographics, as they are becoming those decision makers in B2B, tend to get their perceptions, impressions, and so forth from places like TikTok, Instagram, and so forth, which then makes total sense for the industrial giants of B2B to move into these channels as well. One nice comparison between two graphs should somehow open this point up as well. When it comes to people who use social media for work, the amount of people on a global scale is double the amount of people who use social media to follow influencers. Now, we all know that influencer marketing and and social media, or influencers in social media are like this, and everyone follows influencers on social media, right? But actually, the amount of people who follow influencer is only half of that, of the amount of people who use social media for their work. So be you B2B or B2C, don't forget those people who do use social for work. Fifth trend. The first one was about the UAIGC, but many of our experts also highlighted that UGC is coming back. I'll hand it over to Diana from Osaka Labs to walk us through this.
Hi, I'm Diana Haidar-Galieva, and I'm an account manager at Osaka Labs in London. As we enter 2024, the power of user-generated content is undeniable. Consider the viral TikTok example where a woman's car caught fire, but her Stanley's cup was intact and with ice in it. Now, the real game changer here was Stanley's quick response. The company's president stitched the video in less than 24 hours, offering to replace her cup and the car itself. This move was not just to fix a problem, it was to show that they genuinely care, which resulted in a very positive response and increased customer interest. In 2024, it's not just about content creation, it's about being reactive and engaging with your audience. This kind of UGC is a brand goldmine. It enhances your brand credibility, it offers valuable insights, and most importantly, it connects with your audience on a deeper level.
And should you not be familiar with the case, I picked a video explaining that here as well. So let's have a look at that Stanley Cup case.
This video here is going viral all over social media.
Oh my
A
gosh.
woman posted a TikTok showing how her Stanley Cup survived a car fire. Yeah, as you can see, it is in pretty perfect condition. Look at it, y'all. It still even has some ice in it. Child, this video caught the attention of the president of Stanley, and now he's stepping in to help. Take a listen.
We're glad you're safe. I've seen a lot of comments that we should send you some Stanleys. Well, we're gonna send you some Stanleys. But there's one more thing. We've never done this before, and we'll probably never do it again, but we'd love to replace your vehicle.
Oh, so he basically saying y'all don't go get y'all car on fire thinking he gonna give y'all another car. How cool is that? Pretty cool that they did that. This video has been seen over 30 million times. The drinkware.
So there you go. The rise of user-generated
This
content
video here is going viral.
was visible also in our research paper that we put out with Cannes Lions, analyzing the Cannes Lions winners of last summer. There is an upward turn yet again in the amount or the share of social media winners in Cannes that utilized or leveraged user-generated content. This is something, the UGC, something that many other trends reports also highlighted. For example, TikTok's own. They dubbed it community fueled storytelling, in which they encourage brands to take the users and consumers as part of the how the narrative unfolds, kind of like creating the stories together with the brands. And as going back to what Diana said in her video insert, it truly is a brand gold mine, because as many our experts also highlighted, the trustworthiness of influencers, especially the huge ones, is or has been in the decline over the past years, and that somehow puts more emphasis on good old user-generated content. Now, of course, from the macro influencers, there are your micro influencers and nano influencers and so forth. So maybe user-generated content is somewhere at the end of that scale. So real people, real stuff. And as a follow-up to that previous graph by TinTap, user-generated content can nicely be utilized at whatever point of the funnel. So it works on an awareness level, maybe like it did for Stanley Cup, creating that viral. But of course, on other parts that may also have seen or could have been seen as an advocacy type of content as well. spreading like wildfire among the Stanley Cup fans on TikTok as well. So wherever you may be on your funnel or your activities may be, do keep user-generated content in mind this year. Now, many things in this year's report had to do with how generative AI is shaping things up, and this sixth trend kind of like encapsulates all of it from a social media marketing kind of like the function point of view, or then a social media manager's kind of like a position point of view. Let's hear it from Trevor from Australia, how he sees this particular trend.
Hi, I'm Trevor Crossman. I'm the CX and Digital Transformation Director here at The Hallway in Sydney. The Hallway is a full-service advertising agency. Now, for all the talk, column inches that have been written about generative AI in 2023, when it comes to social media and its application in 2024, we believe it's going to be a blockbuster year of constant evolution. Constant evolution in both the capability and the quality of generative AI on one hand, and marketers on the other, as they define and further evolve the role that AI will play in helping them both identify, create, and ultimately deliver value to the work that they undertake. Hi.
Now, many other reports also show that marketers are or have a generally positive approach or feeling towards the possibilities of generative AI. This one by Deloitte shows that many marketers have already seen how it can cut costs, overheads in many ways. This one by Hootsuite shows that on a more operational social media marketing level, marketers are going to spend or utilize more on a what more ways in how AI can help them create better content, more content, and somehow help their everyday work. We're seeing especially huge rises in things such as editing images plus 260%, or using chatbots to respond to messages over 300%. And many of our experts said that it is just these mundane menial tasks that they are turning to for generative AI in the upcoming year to give them more time to do the big idea level thinking. And it's not just the marketers, it is also other people who are using social media for their work. For example, content creators. 74% of them say that they are interested in receiving training on AI tools to support their work. Now, one thing that we need to keep in mind that as we are leveraging these tools to help our social media, content creation, marketing management, whatever it may be, it is us who then define in what way we will be utilizing those tools. That is kind of like why we ended up with the wording social media management renaissance. It is a rebirth, and we are, all of us are part of defining in what way it will be rebirthed. One thing that we should strive away from is something that Nick Law of Accenture Song highlighted in last summer's Cannes Lions keynote. Generative AI will explode the amount of average content. That is the middle graph in his slides, which is exploding through the roof there. There's going to be a long tail of content with an audience of one, the creator. Now, this, of course, is not the direction that any one of us want to move towards to. So we need to make sure that as marketers, we use those generative AI tools to make our creative ideas better, bigger, bolder, and not more and more average on an ever-increasing pace. Another term that relates to that point, the aforementioned point, is a wonderful term by coined by these researchers cited there below. Botshit, which derives from bullshit through generative AI. It can be described as chatbot-generated content that is not grounded in truth and is then uncritically used by a human for communication and decision-making tasks. I encourage you to check out their academic research on this subject. It is eye-opening, huge, and hilarious, but also vital in the sense that it is us who make use of these tools, and we should somehow carry that responsibility also. Just to show that we can't outsource everything to AI yet, and also to show that despite the renaissance, it is not like AI is taking anyone's jobs anytime soon. I have a small clip here from a chatbot discussion. You can try and read the discussion there, but I can explain it to you whilst it's going here. So it starts off with simple questions that the customer doesn't get an answer to. Then he asks him, the chatbot, to tell him a joke, and then encourages it to write or tell a joke about a parcel delivery chatbot, and the bot ends up doing this rather sarcastic, ironic joke on the company and the brand itself. So not exactly, presumably, the way that the brand wanted its generative AI to portray the brand. Oana from Jam Session Agency sums many of our experts' points of view pretty nicely in this. Generative AI will be the death of repetitive tasks. It might seem like a small thing compared to the potential and high expectations of AI, but this will start a new era in social media marketing. All the time spent scheduling posts, desk social listening, data processing, responding to inquiries, or extensive graphic design work will be saved through AI optimization, which will free up human resources for more strategic and creative activities. Let's make sure that we use our time more on those thanks to generative AI. Trend number 7 about influencer marketing and how AI will help that. Analytics over influencer followers. So we can use AI for influencer marketing activities in many ways, but this is probably the one that is going to have the biggest shift. Artificial intelligence will play a significant role in influencer marketing, assisting brands in identifying the most suitable influencers for their campaigns. Advanced analytics and machine learning algorithms will assess engagement patterns, audience demographics, and authenticity, ensuring a data-driven approach to influencer selection. Many marketers have already been planning to use AI or machine learning to identify influencers for their campaigns. And as the tools are becoming ever more available for us all, without a doubt, there will be more and more of people who are using it. But those who have been using AI already on their influencer marketing activities, 60% of them have said that it has improved their activities. So there's a lot of promise on that sector as well. Now on with a trend that relates to content, how the stuff that we will see and we will produce on those channels, how it will change in the upcoming or this upcoming year here. We dubbed it peak short form video, and we have Deshay from Day One Agency to have his say on this.
So something that we're definitely going to see in 2024 is a shift away from attention back towards intention. So what I mean by that is, I think in 2023 we saw almost every social platform try to adopt this short form TikTok-y style model, and we saw almost every creator brand lean into these sort of cheap viral hacks in order to win over the algorithm and land on the feed. But we also saw a lot of users call out for social to be social again. We saw a lot of people getting social media fatigue. And I think the way that brands and creators and influencers are going to combat that is they're going to lean back into longer form storytelling. We're already seeing platforms like YouTube become the most popular platform again with youth and teens. And I think the question on everyone's mind is really going to be, how can I create a more authentic connection with my audience to keep them around, engaged, and tuned in?
What he was referring to is
So
the TikTokification of kind of like every media outlet, not just social media. Here's a great example of the short form video and the TikTok aesthetic in action by the Kardashian kids. We don't need to listen to it, and you can just watch it here in the background. You'll get the idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about short form video and these jump cuts. Now, you can try and have a guess how many jump cuts can you fit into a 55-second video, the one that we're seeing here. The right answer would be 114. Now, this video itself is sort of like peak in what we mean with the peak short form video. It can't get any more hectic now, can it? I don't know. But also it's a fact that as we're living in an era of that sort of an aesthetic, this study from 8 years ago seems rather outdated. Are we at 4 seconds now, or even 2 seconds, as every marketer knows, even in their sleep, the 2-second rule. That's in the first 2 seconds you'd really need to capture the attention and get the main message through. Now, talking about the short form video, we know that of course it has risen in importance and it has become ever more ubiquitous in the past years. But one yet again, a rather funny observation of how we can say that we have reached the peak short form is the fact that among baby boomers, TikTok is their #1 fastest growing channel. So maybe that should give us an idea that maybe it is time we start moving on from that aesthetic. To which direction, to how meditative and long form it may be, who knows, but maybe there is already or can be seen a reaction to this saturation of short form. But I need to still say that in case you have not yet saturated your channels and your audiences with this, first start mastering the short form and only then start thinking about the meditative ones, because many studies like this one from Meta, our own client data and so forth, show that it is still the most effective way to communicate in many channels and for many objectives. So first master that and only then move forward with the other concept forms. Trend number 9, going communal with creators. This was something that many our experts highlighted, but maybe Oana put it best here. One of the most important trends for influencer marketing will be communal success. In 2024, anyone will have the openness and power to be an influencer, no matter the size of the community. What should they do in order to make it on your For You page? Not to impress with an extravagant lifestyle or viral trends, but to bring highly relevant and informational content from their area of expertise or interest. The influencer and creator sphere has moved towards ever more tighter communities of their followers, and this can also be seen on the changes and new features that the social media channels have added recently. For example, Instagram and their ability to broadcast these kind of like group messages towards your audience, your community that really wants to pay attention to you. Now, sometimes these communities turn into commodities as well, and those creators can monetize that community through, for example, branding, be that cosmetics or clothes or whatever merchandise it may be that they can offer. But this is my favorite example of how influencers are turning into communities, or there is a communal activity around creators and influencers. There's a service that lets you travel with influencers to wherever you may want to travel, but you can actually go on a holiday, not just indulge on their holiday pictures from wherever exotic places they may go. You can actually go with them, thanks to Trova Trip. Finally, ending with this one, Truth Redefined. It is not only about kind of like the end of truth, as has been discussed over the past years quite a lot. And it is an election year, as Amy here points out. Let's first hear it from Amy, and then check out some examples of what it can also mean for brands.
Hi, I'm Amy Botchell from Launch, a creative brand PR agency based in London in the UK. So regarding how generative AI is going to be shaping social media marketing in 2024, we'll all hopefully benefit from superhuman efficiency and productivity, but concerns about ethics and safety aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So this technology will also force brands to redefine authenticity online. As AI-generated content becomes ubiquitous and sophisticated tools are available and accessible to everyone, we'll have no choice but to push our human creativity even further. And all this to worry about during a year stacked with elections across the globe, where AI will be deployed to spread misinformation and propaganda across social channels, interfering not just with our feeds, but with democracy too. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous.
And that is totally true. But when it comes to us in general, and our beliefs about how well we can spot truth when it comes to, for example, the falsified information that generative AI creates, we're pretty confident in ourselves, as can be seen from this graph, for example. In the third one there, it's hard to tell what images are real or fake, and only, for example, 17% of Gen Z say that they strongly agree. This case example that presumably every one of you knows or remembers from last year is a great one. So people were asked whether they have seen or not have seen this before, and of those who had seen, only one or 2/3 knew that it was generated by AI, and presumably that was also the way in which it was conveyed on the internet and in media, that people were fooled by this Balenciaga hope. This is more like the way in which I believe, at least, we're moving more towards that. It is rather hard to tell the truth. And if this is true for photos right now, what will it be for video during this year or the next year? Who knows? But I think the content on social and internet will become ever more like a fairy tale. That maybe fairy tale is kind of like what we're expecting from the get-go, not a truth, as has been, for example, with most of the social media channels. You see a post, you see an Instagram story, you see a BeReal, the first impression or the idea that you get is that that is something that is happening currently. Now it may be totally turned upside down in the upcoming year. For example, Instagram has has integrated AI features into their stories with which you can make these falsified fake type of images, taking me, for example, to moon or wherever. So rather easy and rather realistically. So it's harder and harder to tell what is truth. Now, brands may find some new venues for getting creative and doing some entertaining content with these trends. This one is from Zara, and people went crazy online discussing whether this was real or not. This is an even better case example. Many of you will be familiar with this one from Maybelline. And actually people wondered whether or not this was a real outdoor ad. Well, why not? I don't know. It could have been, of course, but these cases that have been popping up quite a lot over the past months show that there is a lot to learn and do and play and learn and do again for brands when it comes to taking reality on a spin in social channels in this way that is truly mixing what is true and what is false. With that, we've come to the end of this presentation. You can find the whole report from that link, and as Stephanie said, you will get it afterwards as well. And I truly encourage you to check that out as well. It has all the interviews in their entirety, and there are many, many gems hidden there, many of which, of course, we couldn't fit into this presentation. So do check that out, and hopefully it will help you make the most of social in the upcoming year for your work and your client work.
Okay, thank you so much. So we've had a couple of questions come in. So if it's okay with you, I'll ask you to stop sharing in the next few minutes. But also a reminder to all of our guests, if any of you guys have spotted a trend that we haven't heard mentioned in this report, please do let us know and we can get you on the screen to share it. So the first question is, do you have any experience or thoughts on how pharma can better use social brackets B2B, especially given markets other than US cannot promote prescription brands direct to the public?
We have a pharma client here, and we're pretty familiar with the restrictions. So, of course, there are many ways or many objectives that you can strive for, be that employer branding or whatever. But of course, when it comes to the actual products, it gets trickier. And then, of course, it totally relies on the legislation in your particular country or the country that the client operates in, because, of course, those differ too here within Europe, for example. So yeah, it's a tricky one, and it's always those discussions end up in a dead end somehow.
Fair enough, thank you. Another question, someone has said, thanks Jari, great presentation. You mentioned Cannes Lions, and we've seen Curio being successful in tier award shows too. Any tips on what awards juries look for in judging social media campaigns?
Oh, a good one. I'll just put a little ad here for all of you. Do join in tomorrow for Indie Awards pre-gala webinar seminar thingy, because there's going to be an interesting panel on just this particular thing. I think, as it is with all the juries and awards shows, first of all, you need to be really relevant, and especially for that category. Now, for social, it having been a judge on some, I think there is a lot of this sort of spray and pray that people just enter PR campaigns into social and just try and make it sound like social. You really need to put the social kind of like sort of first in your entry. And if you can do that, without a doubt, you will impress the jury. And of course, then the everything else, the objectives and how the results relate to those need to be in place as well. But really try and make it interesting, somehow novel and socially relevant, because many of the entries aren't.
Thanks so much. Okay, another question. A lot of digital comms is judged more by performance than by people? Do clients really know how to judge what's a good campaign?
Whoa. Um, maybe that depends on the client, at least from my experience. The client knowledge base, especially when it comes to social, but of course, marketing in general, varies very, very much. Now, I don't know if they judge it by performance or by people or whatever, but it is a fact that it varies very much. Now, we have tried, at least here in our agency, to also educate our clients the best we can. And that has usually led to good client relationships as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Sorry, you're inundated now. Any tips for entertainment brands and how they approach socials in 2024 and 2025? For example, Channel 4, ITV, etc.
I think in many ways they are in those sorts of brands are in best position to do stuff on social. But of course, at the same time, they are competing against everyone in the same category, which have the same advantage. Now, if you think about all the other brands and companies and industries and so forth, everyone would die to be in a position that an entertainment brand is. Now, maybe that might also lead to an answer. Maybe those brands could try and find collaborators like Nike and Tiffany or better ones, or do it better from totally different sorts of brands and in that way make their campaigns bigger, bolder, more innovative by collaborating with, I don't know, FMCG brands, for example. I don't know.
Food for thought, thank you. All right, and I think we got time for another couple of questions. So another one. Because of the importance of UGC, there will be an explosion of fake car fires sending new coats to remote places by helicopter (brackets North Face) or equivalent created by brands, excuse me, to benefit from the PR. Given this type of content a limited window, giving this type of content a limited window before Gen Z and Gen A work out it isn't always authentic.
Is that a question? Sorry, or
Yeah,
was the more?
sorry.
No.
Yeah,
But
so I suppose is there a limited window before Gen Z and Gen A work out that it isn't authentic?
If I get the question right, if I understand it right, I totally get the point that there is a great chance for astroturfing in that sphere as well. And definitely it is a thing to avoid. But as long as it is authentic, I think you're in a pretty good space. Now, of course, if there isn't any user-generated content available that you might tap into, then of course there are many ways to encourage that. Now, of course, when it comes to doing that, you need real motivators that actually work for your audience. And for many brands, there isn't one. It isn't that easy. It isn't that naturally fitted for that brand to start their or spur their consumers or fans' imaginations in a way like Nike did. But maybe, just maybe, the generative AI might also help there. So even a bit more boring industry or a industry that doesn't have such a clout like Nike's does, there's a chance for getting the motivators spurring and people really and your fans and consumers and fans thinking about how to actually create that content for you. I don't know. Maybe the AI could offer an answer to that as well.
Yeah, ask the AI if in doubt. Okay, one last question because we're getting to the top of the hour. A lot of social media is all about this week's fads and short-term effects. Can social media build long-term brand values, or should we see it as tactical and opportunistic?
Mm, I think those, even if your strategy is based on tapping into those fads, which is a good strategy, of course, not the easiest to execute, but it is a good strategy. I think it is a strategy and it builds your brand on a long term if you're just consistent. So I don't see that it is in any way like a contradictory thing. So yeah, definitely you can create brand value via social media, whether it is by tapping into fads that come and go, or whether it is by doing something of your total different of your own, whatever it may be.
Okay, makes sense. Well, thank you so, so much. I know there are probably going to be quite a few more people with questions, so I am going to now share your information on the screen so that if anyone has a follow-up question that they didn't have a chance to ask, you can contact Yari. So there you go. So Yari's contact details are at JARI at Curio, KURI.fi. And the website to find out more is curio.fi. So again, massive thank you for Yari for that great webinar. We learned a lot, and thank you guys all for coming. We really hope you enjoyed it. We'll be holding webinars once a month. You can find out more about our future webinars on our website, thenetwork1.com/events. You can also find past recordings there as well. Finally, as Yari very kindly mentioned, we will be crowning the winners of the Indie Awards in an event tomorrow that is including a speaker panel and another keynote speaker as well. We've still got a few spaces available, and we'd be delighted to see you there either in person or via Zoom. So please visit www.indieawards.global/awards-presentation for more info and tickets. And hopefully you can see that link in the chat now. So that's indieawards.global/awards-presentation. So thank you all very, very much. We will be sending the report as well as the recording of this week's webinar probably tomorrow. So we look forward to speaking with you then, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much. Bye.